you all the bricks that I own and know. I'm letting go. I'm breaking these walls down, breaking these walls down. If you want adventure, then fly to home. But if you wanna travel, then go alone. Yeah, what's the point in us if I never know? Yeah, if you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. I'm tired of the I found where my demons down. My own little nightmare, I cool it. Hell, oh well. It's time to get back up. Climbing and climbing. I'm done with this ride. It's what I tell myself, so I can feel something else. Yeah, I guess I had my bad days, but it doesn't mean I lost my style. Where were you when my heart was on the ground? I thought time would prove that you would stick around. I guess time stood still. It came without his crown. Now I'm breaking and you're faking good. You never made a sound. I'm tired of the pain.
Good morning, guys. Welcome back. Coast to Coast is here for your Sunday morning college basketball slate. Today's show, like always, is brought to you by PickCity.com. Head over to PickCity.com to find your next best bet. Every league, every game, they should have you covered at PickCity.com. I'm your host, Adam Danis from GoGam Sports and PickCity.com. My main man, Scojo, is off today with some personal problems. But we might have a surprise guest for us later in the show. Let's hop right into it. First, we're going to start with a little recap yesterday. Scojo and I went 7-3 on the board yesterday. Great day for us on a nice Saturday. The first game we're going to talk about was Davidson URI. What a scoring fest early in that game. I was a little worried about URI keeping up with Davidson, but they kept up with them pretty easily. And then, of course, Davidson down the stretch was pretty good, winning with a comeback win over URI. Not covering the spread as I had them personally, but they won by 4, ended up hitting the over pretty easily yesterday. URI played pretty well down the post, exposed Davidson's size a little bit down the stretch. But overall, just a great win, great comeback win by Davidson. Showing it time and time again that they're never out of the game. Two good guards who played great all year, and they played great down the stretch. They didn't have the great shooting they've been used to having all year, but they found a way to win, and they got it done. They moved to 12-2 in the year, which is their best start since Curry was at Davidson, and looking to make another run in the tournament this year. And I think do pretty well if they get in. URI, man, a tough loss for them. They put up a fight all the way to the end. Um, I give them props for hanging in with a great Davidson team, but at Davidson, it's just a tough place to play. And I told you in yesterday's show, guys, if URI was going to stay in that game, they had to put up points, and they did. You overhit pretty easily. Both teams scoring 70, and you overhit. So moving on, one of my games yesterday, UConn and Seton Hall. I told you if Sonogo was playing, they'd have a pretty good chance to win. Up 9 with 10 minutes to go, had the game in their hands. UConn, man, just another down the stretch, just blunder. Um, RJ Cole fouling out with overtime, and down the stretch just not having that go-to guy. I mean, they had Martin, but he's not really a go-to guy with the ball in his hand. He's really an off the dribble corner three guy who could look for a shot sometimes. But RJ, man, him fouling out really put that game at risk and ended up costing them. They do cover the 6, they do cover the 5 and the 4.5, whatever you got it at. Which was good for us. So we moved to 2-0 in the day. Our first loss yesterday came with Missouri State losing at home to Northern Iowa. I watched the end of this game. Northern Iowa gets a lucky, I wouldn't say lucky, but a great foul for them at the 3-point line with one of the best shooters in the country. Go on the line to put them up 2, and they just had the game the rest of the way. Missouri State, I don't know the guy's name, but one of their guys had 43 points, so more than half the team's points, and they still end up losing. Missouri State usually pretty good at home. A little blunder yesterday, but I'm sure they'll bounce back next home game. Villanova, a little surprised in the first half, going down. I think they're down 6.5. I took them live personally at minus 180. Just straight a free bet right there, free money. They weren't losing to this DePaul team. They're now 21-0, last 21 heads up against DePaul. I just didn't see this Jay Wright team losing to DePaul. DePaul second half play like the DePaul we know. Too many turnovers, just not good offensive possessions. Then they went 8 minutes without scoring a single field goal, which allowed Connor Gillespie and Villanova to eventually come back and put this game out of DePaul's way. Ended up going up 12. Ended up winning the game by more than 15 points. Pretty easy cover there at -8. So he moved to 3-1 on the day. Another disappointing game for us yesterday was UAB. UAB up 5 at half on the road. Looked like they're in pretty much full control of this game heading the second half. They go up 10 early in the second half, and Skoja and I were talking, and we felt like they were going to put the game away. Well, Rice came back and ended up taking control of the game late in the second half. Went up 4. Ended up winning the game by 5, I believe it was, 85-80. So another high-scoring game by UAB, but down the stretch just couldn't put the game away and lose to Rice in a surprise loss for them in conference. Georgia Tech, again, told you yesterday was a big fade for us. Georgia Tech now is 1-8-1 at home this year, covering spreads. Notre Dame gets the easy win in overtime. They just took the game over in overtime, won by 4 points, covered the -1.5 pretty easily. Notre Dame now 2-0 last 2 in conference against UNC, and then we saw what UNC did last game against who they play. They played BC and then they played Virginia yesterday. Baycott, huge game, 29-21. But Notre Dame showing that they can hang with the big guys here a little bit, shooting the ball pretty well. Like I said, 5 guys who can spread the floor and shoot the ball pretty easily. So next one, Iona. We said this when we called this one too. Iona straight up as a dog. Iona was getting 4.5 on the road against St. Louis. The St. Louis team is pretty solid at home usually. But this Iona team, Rick Pitino, got these players at Iona playing like really top tier D1 talent, and we called this game yesterday. We said if Iona was in this late, they'd have a pretty good chance to win the game. 4.5 points, just way too many points in this matchup. Iona, a team to look out for in the tournament this year coming up. Moving on, LSU, again, just total dominance at home from the start. This team is just incredible when they play at home. Will Wade, his numbers are like 62-7, 60-7 now as a home favorite. It's just crazy. The stats for this guy at home is just incredible. He's got his team ready to play against anybody. I picked them usually against anybody at home. Again, this line looked a little trappy at 1.5 against a solid Tennessee team, but Tennessee just had no options for them on offense against this solid LSU defense, who's looking like one of the best defensive teams in the league, especially in the SEC. We saw Auburn play last night, which we'll get into in a couple minutes here, but it's really Auburn and LSU, I think, for the SEC title this year. You got Kentucky as well, but we saw what LSU did to Kentucky. I think it's LSU and Auburn down the stretch, so I'd love to see that battle coming up. LSU lost the first one. Love to see Auburn if they play at LSU, how that game would go as well. Colorado State, pretty disappointing second half again. I feel like we're saying the same thing in these games. Second half just killed us yesterday. Colorado State kept it close for most of the half, and then San Diego State just played like they should. They played like they usually do, and played some stellar defense down the stretch, and ended up winning by I believe 20+ points. So pretty disappointing second half by Colorado State. Florida against Auburn yesterday, we had that game -7.5. Auburn almost lost the lead at one point. They might have lost the lead. Only was up by 2 for most of the second half, and then Auburn went on a little 10-0 run at the end of the game and ended up covering for us late. Auburn, man, one of our favorite teams. Scoja and I, both one of our favorite teams to either bet against or bet for and watch. Katie Johnson, Jabari Smith, Wendell Green, they're all playing pretty well right now with a Bruce Pro basketball team who's got all the confidence in the world behind their head coach. Again, Auburn, LSU, probably for the SEC title this year. I see Auburn as a 2 or maybe a 3, maybe a 2 seed this year in the tournament. Only loss coming to my UConn at home in the Bahamas, I think, in a double overtime game. They're getting one of the best players back off injury, and Flanagan, who will be a pretty good add late in the season for them in the SEC tournament, and then head into March Madness. So yeah, Auburn closed it out late, and we end up going 7-3 in the day. If you played to risk or played to gain a unit yesterday on all our plays, which were at -110, you'd be up around almost 4 units in the day yesterday. We have 2 plays for you guys today. Smaller slate for college basketball. Of course, you got NFL today as well. You get Klay Thompson coming back for the Warriors tonight, so plenty of action to watch. But for us, I have 2 college basketball picks for you. The first one's going to be the Quinnipiac traveling to Niagara game today. Niagara giving Quinnipiac 3.5 coming into their house. Over under sitting at 137.5. Quinnipiac 7-4 in the year, coming off a win against this Niagara Ball Club, who Quinnipiac took care of. They won 77-68 at home against this Niagara team. They were underdogs in that game as well as a home dog, and ended up winning pretty easily by almost double digits. Quinnipiac 5-5 against the spread in the year, 3-1 against the spread on the road, and 3-1 against the spread as a road dog, winning 2 of those straight up. Niagara only 1-2 at home, 0-3 straight up in their conference. Do they go undefeated, or do they make it 0-4? I believe so. I have Quinnipiac winning this game outright. We're gonna take the points. We're gonna take Quinnipiac plus 3.5. I'd say all the way down to +2 would be a good play here. I wouldn't be surprised if some books have it at +4. But I love Quinnipiac here getting points on the road after beating this team pretty easily. And I believe Niagara is pretty much fully healthy. I looked at the injury reports today. Both teams are just around fully healthy, unless there's a late add for COVID. But you never know in these type of situations. So I have Quinnipiac getting the +3.5, +4, all the way down to +2 for me. Next game, IPFW on the road as favorites today against Robert Morris. IPFW coming off one of their biggest wins of the year against Youngstown State on the road as a 6-point dog, winning that game straight up pretty easily down the stretch. IPFW is 7-5 against the spread, 4-2 against the spread on the road, and is 4-1 against the Horizon League Conference matchup this year. Looking to make it 5-1 to start the year, pretty hot. Robert Morris, one of the worst teams in college basketball so far this year. 2 wins in the year, have lost 5 of the last 6, covering only 2 of those games. On the year, they're 3-10 against the spread, 1-3 against the spread at home, and 2-8 against the spread after a loss. Also, they're 1-4 against the spread in conference matchups this year, not playing too well against their conference in the Horizon League. IPFW, they're coming off a big dog win against a solid Youngstown State team. Got all the confidence in the world. I'm taking IPFU. I believe this line dropped to it's at -1 now. I have them winning by 5+. The total looks a little big here at 147.5, just because I don't know how much Robert Morris is going to put up too many points today. I lean the under in this total just because I don't trust Robert Morris to be that too explosive on offense. I don't even care if they're at home. This team is pretty bad. So, yeah, those are my 2 plays for college basketball today. Parlays, not too many games in slate today that I'd like to parlay. You got Ohio State as a big favorite, of course, but I'm going to lay off them just because that line's weird. And then the game that I'm worried about, and I know most of you guys are probably wanting to hear about this game, is the Wisconsin-Maryland game. Wisconsin on the road, favored only by 1.5, I think, on most books. Maryland coming off a tough loss against Illinois, where they led for most of that game, especially the half. They're up, I think, 4 or 5. We had them at +12. Ended up pushing that game, unfortunately. We should have won that. We should have got that cover pretty easily. Down the stretch, just Maryland just couldn't make a basket. They gave up a 22-5 run to Illinois, and once you do that, it's game over. This Wisconsin team is not like most Wisconsin teams, meaning it's not all about defense. They're putting up points. They're putting up 80+ pretty easily. On the road, they've struggled a little bit to put up points. Recently against Ohio State, they put up like 55, I think it was. This line just seems too trappy for me. This Maryland team is not that good. They lost their head coach this year. Not really much to play for in the Big Ten. Probably one of the worst teams in the conference. But Maryland at home, looking for the first win in the conference. It could happen today, especially with how this line looks overall. Wisconsin 3-1 in conference so far this year, and I'm just gonna stay away. I think this is too much of a trap. But if I had a play, I'd probably take Maryland. Just because in my recent history of just betting on weird lines, it's all gone the weird way. Look at the Duke Ohio State game, went the weird way. Look at the Arizona Tennessee matchup, went the weird way. So for me, if it's weird, take the weird line. It's not an official play for me. I'm not betting on the game today, but in my recent history, I've been screwed on just these gimme lines that look too good to be true, and the team who's the weird line ends up winning the game. So I would not be surprised if Maryland wins here at home today against Wisconsin. I like the total to go over just because I think if Maryland wants to win today, they're going to put up at least 70. I think the total's at 137.5. So I see both teams scoring 70 points here in a close matchup with free throws down the stretch. So I lean Maryland here. Unfortunately, I wouldn't like putting my money on Maryland, which is why I'm not doing it today. But I know some of you guys are probably going to want a play for that matchup, probably because play of the day besides Ohio State. So I lean Maryland, unfortunately. We're gonna take a quick break. See if our surprise guest is in the building, is ready to go. We'll be back with you guys in a little bit.
For what reason do you risk your life to climb the tower?
All right, boys, we're going to wrap up today's show. Looks like our little special guest isn't happening today. We'll catch you guys back. I'll probably be on tomorrow with another free play for your Monday slate. A little recap today. We got Quinnipiac on the road, getting 3.5 at Niagara. Take them all the way down to +2. And then IPFW, and they come out with the win today against Auburn pretty easily. Have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at @GoGet'em_sports. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.